Well, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has arrived in Singapore for the peace summit that is due to take place on Tuesday with the US President Donald Trump. At stake at the summit are North Korea's nuclear weapons and peace on the Korean Peninsula. North Korea spent decades developing nuclear weapons, culminating in a test of thermonuclear devices in 2017. It also successfully tested missiles that had enough range to reach the US mainland. For more on the upcoming summit, we are joined by SABC correspondent Whitfield-Miocic in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. A very good afternoon to you from South Africa. Essentially, what are we expecting from the Singapore summit?
Well, we are expecting the two leaders to sit down and talk. For how long remains to be seen. The Reuters news agency now reporting from one source that is close to setting up the talks, saying that Kim Jong-un is expected to depart at 2 o'clock. Well, that is only a mere 5 hours after the talks are scheduled to begin. But top of the agenda will be denuclearization and how Kim Jong-un and the North Korean regime will hand over all of their nuclear weapons, and indeed what process that will take. The US would like for them to be handed to a US lab and for those to be deconstructed. However, there has been other analysts that have said it is perfectly within the realms of possibility for nuclear experts to go inside the country and to dismantle installations that are inside North Korea. And indeed that might be a safer thing to do instead of having a ship carrying potentially deadly warheads going on a long journey to the US, which could end up in some sort of strife. It is technically possible for that to happen. How long this will take is a huge matter of debate. Some of the experts that I've been speaking to have said if North Korea agrees to denuclearization, it could be wrapped up in as little as 2 years. However, one US expert says he anticipates it will take 15 years because of the scale of not only the weapons that North Korea has developed, but also there are buildings as well as energy firms that need to be checked out.
Essentially, from Donald Trump's side, from the US, what could we see him bringing to the fore in terms of the summit?
Well, what Donald Trump's key policy will be is if you can give up your nukes, we can look at easing the sanctions. And we know that's something that Kim Jong-un is desperately looking out for. 2 years after he took power of North Korea, he developed a new strategy, moving away from the military-first strategy that he'd inherited from both his father and his grandfather to a nuclear-pronged. One of the prongs was nuclear, the other one was developing the economy. Well, we know that the nuclear capabilities of North Korea have been realized, especially when it comes to weapon capability. Those intercontinental ballistic missiles that you were just mentioning there, Shante, with what the North Koreans say have the range to reach the US. So it's now seen that North Korea has achieved its aims in that sector. What it now wants to focus on is developing the economy. And it's doing so by trying to open up a hotel resort region in the coastal town of Wonsan. It wants to be able to get other streams of revenue coming in, but it can only really do so once sanctions are lifted. So that'll be the carrot that Donald Trump dangles in order to try and get North Korea's leadership to give up their arms.
Now, apart from the changes that they are hoping to make in the macro environment, let's talk about the chances of peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Well, that is something that Donald Trump says he believes could happen. It could be an outcome for the summit, and it's something that would be hugely important here in Seoul as well as in North Korea. Now, the reason for that is ever since the two Koreas went to war in 1950 in that 3-year conflict, the conflict only ended following the signing of an armistice agreement, so an agreement not to have so it's a cessation of hostilities, really. Well, the US and China were signatories to that agreement, and they have to be in consultation for any sort of amendment to that original deal. Now, there's a possibility that the first thing that we will see is this peace deal that will be signed. However, we've yet to hear from South Korea's President Moon Jae-in about whether he will be travelling to the event. The sources that I have here in Seoul say that there has been no plans made as of yet, but they stand ready to deploy as soon as they hear anything. Now, as well, we haven't heard whether there are any plans for Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, to also be in attendance. So it is one of the things that looks like it will be the most likely outcome. As we've just been talking about denuclearization, Donald Trump had been saying that he anticipates that this won't be the final meeting that they have with North Korea, that he sees this as a process. So we could be seeing future summits and future meetings in the future, and also the possibility that Kim Jong-un will be invited to the US for the next round of talks.
Definitely. One can only imagine the type of frenzy that is put around this summit. Of course, it is an historic meet. Can you give us some of the details around the actual meeting and the preparations that are going to be taking place ahead of Tuesday?
Well, at the minute, Singapore is laying down a huge security cordon in order to prepare for both of those leaders. We know Donald Trump is arriving within the next 2 hours, and I've seen from reports on Twitter that security is really being beefed up around the area in which he will be staying. So that is a key importance for the success of this meeting. We heard earlier on as well from the Home Affairs Minister for Singapore, who had said that a number of people had been stopped from entering the country. Well, he didn't give us very many details about what had happened, apart from in the one case where a person had been stopped who had been researching suicide bombings. So that could be a key concern going forward, and we know that that'll be the utmost concern for the security services that are charged with taking care of those two men. Another key concern as well for Kim Jong-un, because he is said to be fearing a potential coup back home unless he gets back quickly, and he's asked the US for security guarantees. As well as that, there are now a series of meetings which will take place. Kim Jong-un is currently meeting with the Singaporean Prime Minister, and then there's expected to be sideline meetings between the delegations. Now, the delegations have been meeting in the lead up to this. We've had some here in South Korea meeting in the demilitarized zone with their North Korean counterparts. We've also seen advanced teams from the US and North Korea meet in Singapore itself. So there's going to be a lot of groundwork in preparation for the key photo opportunity that we're going to see the two leaders sitting down together for the very first time. And we've also got to remember that little bit of criticism that was levelled against the speed of these talks. Usually such things take months to achieve, and it takes a lot of bottom groundwork level to get them off the ground. This has all been done in the space of a month, so there's going to be a lot of frantic preparations going on in the background.
Definitely. Thank you very much. That was SABC correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Miocic in Seoul, the capital of South Korea, just giving us a bit of a prelude to that summit that is set to take place, as well as the preparations, and of course mentioned there that huge security contingent around that meeting come Tuesday.